Hi guys. So in this lecture, we're now going to apply 1's and 2's complements to see how they help us convert subtraction problems into addition problems. All right, so let's get straight to work. So 1's complement subtraction. Remember how we said we convert from a binary number to a number in 1's complement? You simply flip all the bits. So in 1's complement subtraction, you're going to flip. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to flip the minuend. Okay, find the complement the subtrahend. Okay, so I'll call this complement subtrahend. Then you add it to the minuend. Okay, so what does this mean? You know, you do a certain number, a minus b, to give you so and so. So b is called the subtrahend. So that's what you're going to complement. And a is called the minuend. So that's how you do it. You complement b, then you add it to a. So now for the third step, it depends on how the addition turns out. So for the first case, so let's call this I. Perform an end around if there is a carry. So let's say if there's a carry, then you perform end around carry, okay? Or you can call it end around addition. So perform end around addition. End around addition. Okay? But if there's no carry, then you recomplement. And then you add a minus sign. So it may look like a lot right now, but once you start solving, you sort of understand how intuitive this process is. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Let's start off simple. Let's say we want to do 111 minus 101. So this is, okay, let me write this out linearly. Okay, so let's say we want to do 111 minus 101. All of these are in binary, and we want to use the 1's complement method. So the first thing we have to do is complement the subtrahend. That's this part. So, you know, complementing this is flipping the bits from a 1 to a 0 and zeros to 1. So that's going to be 0, 1, 0 as my 1's complement. Step 2 is to add this to the minuend. Okay, so let's say add to the minuend. So let's subtrahend. So let's do that now. So what usually would be 111 minus 101 is now going to be 111 plus 0, 1, 0. Okay? So we're going to add this. And this is going to give us 1. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. So now we're in a very unique state. We started off, and maximum digits was 3. So the longest number in our addition was 3. Now, but our answer has 4 bits. So that means this is an extra bit that we're going to end around carry. Okay, it's called an end around carry. So you carry the trailing bit and you add it to the units, to the first place of the number. Okay, so it's kind of understandable. So you have two numbers this way. If the answer you end up with is longer than the largest number, usually it's going to always be by 1 digit. So you carry this number and you literally bring it to the first place here, and then you add it. Okay, so that means you add the carry. So that's now going to be 0, 0, 1 plus 1. So that's going to be 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0 in base 2. 1 plus 1 is 0, carry 1. Okay, so if you're performing a subtraction with 1's complement, you complement the subtrahend, add it to the minuend, okay, and perform the addition. So if I have a carry, you know, we know this is a carry because my answer is 4 bits and my longest number here was 3 bits. So I carry my last digits, which is usually always going to be a 1, right? And I'm going to add it here. So that's how we know. So what do we do if we don't have a carry? So let's try another number, okay, without a carry. So let's do 1, 0, 1, 0 minus 1, 1, 0, 1. And we want to subtract this using 1's complement. 1, 0, 1, 0 minus 1, 1, 0, 1. So remember, the first thing we have to do is complement this guy. This is our subtrahend. So, we'll do 1, 0, 1, 0. Complementing this, we don't even have to do much. So we know it's going to be 0, 0, 1, 0, just looking at it. So we add this complemented number, 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay? And that gives us 0, 0, 1, 1. So this is our answer. And if you look here, my answer has the same number of bits as my numbers here. So there is no carry. So look at the next case and say that if there's no carry, we recomplement and add a minus sign. So let's bring this down. This means we're going to recomplement our answer. We're complementing this using 1's complement. 1, 1, 0, 0 changes to 0, 0, 1, 1 base 2, and we add a minus sign. Okay, so that means that 1, 0, 1, 0 minus 1, 1, 0, 1 is equal to minus 0, 0, 1, 1 base 2. If you change this to decimal, you see that it actually makes sense. This should be 10 minus 13 gives minus 3. Okay, so you sort of see why you actually have to have the physical minus sign. So the crucial point after recomplementing is to take note: do I have a carry? Do I not have a carry? If I have a carry, which is always going to be 1, I'm going to bring it to my last place and add it to my number. Okay, and that's going to give me my final answer. But if I don't have a carry, I have to recomplement my answer, then add a negative sign, because no carry means that my minuend was less than my subtrahend. 10 is less than 13. So I always need a negative number to express it. Okay, so let's see if we can do a couple more to get ourselves absolutely familiar with what's going on. Okay, just so that we can be sure how to perform subtraction using 2's complements. All right, so let's get to work. 1, 1, 0. Let's take a number. 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 minus 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, all in base 2. So we have 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 minus 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. So what usually helps is to convert these guys to decimal straight up, so that you sort of have an idea of what you're working with. Okay, so that's going to be 27. So this is 27 and this is 13. But if you can't do that, I usually just check which of these is greater. So you can just lay them side by side. 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. And then I have 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. If I start from the first bit, I see that this is a 1, this is a 0, which means this is automatically greater. So that's another way to do that. But let's go ahead with the subtraction with 1's complement. No, we have to complement this using 1's complement. So that's 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, and we add 1's complement. Okay, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay, adding this gives us 1, 0 carries 1, so that's 1, 1, and 0, 1. Okay, so we can see that this is 6 bits and these are 5 bits. They have to perform the end around carry and add this to my answer here. Okay, and that's going to be 0, 1, and this everything stays the same. 1, 1, 0 base 2. Okay, that's correct. So we can say that 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 minus 0, 1, 1, 0, 1 is the same as 0, 1, 1, 1, 0 base 2. And that's 14. Okay, and that's 14 in base 10. So let's do another one without the carry so that we can be sure and remember exactly how to perform the addition. So let's flip exactly what we just did. Okay, so let's flip this. You know, I think we did 27 minus 13 to give us 14. So let's do 14 minus 27. But let's go in blind. So let's see 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, minus 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. How do we do this? So this now becomes our subtrahend. We're going to subtrahend, complement this. So that's 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, plus, flip to 0, and flip zeros to 1 and 1s to zeros. 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Okay. Adding this gives me 1, 0, 0, 0, and 1. So this has no carry. This is 5 bits, 5 bits, 5 bits. There is no carry. So remember what we said, if there's no carry, we recomplement it, okay? We take the 1's complement again to get the number in binary. So that's 0, 1, 1, 1, 0 in base 2. And we add a minus sign. So you can see that it's logically adds up. So 13 minus 27 is going to give us minus 14. And 27 minus 13 is going to give us 14, which is exactly what we have here. So that's all there is to 1's complement. That's all there is when handling 1's complement. Okay? So if we're to check on the other side of things, if we're to do 2's complements, so remember that we said that 2's complements, so let's write this out. So 2's complement is the same as 1's complement plus 1. Okay, so what this means, what's crucial for this, to handle this, is that if I'm recomplementing a number that is in 2's, I have to subtract 1, then perform the 1's complement operation to get my original number. So we'll see how that works out. So let's write down the steps. We're going to have to do the same thing. Okay, so complement the subtrahend. Okay, so complement the subtrahend. You add to the minuend. Okay, and now it depends on if and if there isn't a carry. All right, so case 1, if there's no carry. Okay, so let's start with if there's a carry, since that's the preferable case. If there's a carry, then you literally just drop the carry. Okay, so you drop the carry digit. Okay, and carry usually is a 1. So if there's a 1, if this spills over and there's a 1, you literally drop the extra bit. Okay, but if there's no carry, okay, then you recomplement, and then you add the minus sign. Okay, so let's see this in action. So let's do 1, 0, 1, 0 minus, okay, 1, 1, 0, 1 minus 1, 0, 1, 0. So I want to do 1, 1, 0, 1 minus 1, 0, 1, 0. So we have to take the 2's complement of this. So it starts 1, 1, 0, 1. The 2's complement of this is going to be 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay, but remember we're dealing with 2, so we have to add a 1. So plus 1 is going to give us 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, so add the 2's complements, 0, 1, 1, and 0. And that's going to give us 1 stays here, 1 stays here, 0, carry a 1, and this becomes 0 with a 1. So we can see that we have a carry, a spillover carry. So remember, we come into our flowcharts and say that if we have a carry, we have to drop it. So this literally drops, and then our final answer becomes 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, that's all there is to it. So let's do one without a carry, so that we can get used to recomplementing. Okay, so the easiest way to do it, let's switch to these. So the 1, 0, 1, 0 minus 1, 1, 0, 1. Okay, take the 2's complement of this guy. We start with the 1s, so that's 0, 0, 1, 0 plus 1 is going to give me 0, 0, 1, 1. Okay, and that's what I'm going to add to this. So I have 1010 as my minuend plus 0011. Okay. Adding this is going to give me 1011 since this carries over. Okay. There is no carry, so we have to recomplement. To recomplement, remember you have to subtract 1 before you take the 1's complement. So that means I'm going to recomplement 1100. Okay. Minus 1, since I'm dealing with 2's complements. So recomplementing this, that now becomes 0011 in base 2 with a minus sign. Okay, with a minus sign is very important. We do that. So that's all there is to this. This is 10. This is 13 minus 10, and this is 10 minus 13 to give minus 3. So no matter how long whatever number it is you're operating with, you just have to make sure to note whether or not you have an end around carry if you're dealing with 1's or 2's complement subtraction. So it's to recomplement 2's, you have to subtract 1 first before you perform the operation. All right. If you're dealing with 1's, you just perform the flipping of 0's to 1 and 1's to 0's the way they are, like that. All right. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.